Let me ask you this question. Who am I? That's for another day. But have you ever imagined a world where everything is just amazing, not corny, but just amazing? Every story begins with once upon a time, and indeed once upon a nation. In the middle of it all, there was maize. It was considered the golden crop to the Shambhaku people who lived north of some place I forgot the name of, in the middle of Zimbabwe or something. So, maize was in the center of the economic, social and political structure of the community. It dominated all the sectors, which included its use in medicine. Dr. Moyo had had a breakthrough using blah 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 in blah to achieve blah. Everyone at the cinema was thankful for the high fever patients who made sure that there was a high supply of popcorn, and Dr. Moyo received a Nobel Prize for his work. It was also used in agriculture, where it was used as scarecrows. In language and technology, maize was in every home. And sometimes it was the home. And you know, maize was food. It was integrated into the Olympics and in security, which you will understand soon. Even in esports, maize was a big hit. Players across the nation signed up for the annual Winter Games.
Piracy are poised for a strike, and both players look confident.
That's right, that's right.
Did you see that?
Oh my god, that's definitely illegal. That man cheated.
On top of it all, ladies and gentlemen, I King Bonde led the amazing community, and everybody loved me. I had the swagger, the corny, cool, starchy, fierce, smouldering, never seen in the mutable state fashion. I always walked with my head up every time until I always had to meet these guys. The elders, Steve, George and Melissa. Before I get into them, here's how the system worked. At the bottom was the ordinary Joes and Nexais who had the same looks, shifty eyes and no clothes. Above them I stood out to be the amazing king, the guy who led. It was that simple. George and the other so-called elders had to make sure that every 12 days I offered to the High Form. Whom you asked? The High Form, a myth, a guy or some kind of spirit whom or which lived in Mugamo Ramasar, which no one had ever seen except George, that old fruit pulp. At that moment I was convinced that even my dad, King Gon, his father King Londo and those before them might have never even heard of this High Form, and I think George might have made this whole thing up. So, who was George? George was George, and he always knew how to step on my toes. Don't get me wrong, George loved the amazing, but he didn't see me fit to be his king, and so he always made sure I was portrayed as the lousy king. My Hall of Fame statue was, you guessed it, and his was, I can't hate, spectacular in all ways. And he painted the vision our flag represented. So on the day we set out on foot, and just like every ancient story out there, it's not a story if thunder doesn't strike, and they say there is no thunder without under. And we were under the influence of George, who led all the way with his shifty eyes and his cartoon-like stature. The journey was easy and smooth, and I'm sure I did kick the butt out of that good old storm and all. It wasn't a surprise that a made-up High Form would live in a creepy cave. Here, take this torch and walk to the High Form. I'll chill and keep guard. That was the typical George for you. What was George trying to prove, I don't know, but sure, that was always one of my worst days with Oldman George. You know, I could have been playing a maze game, or I could have been ordering the sculpture of my new statue, but it had to be this creepy cave exercise. I said that to myself, wondering if there was a back door out of this cave and all. Interesting. Someone had to write on a stone. Get a life, George. And oh yeah, next time, use English, please. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here goes nothing. I said that to myself, standing in that cave hoping for that back door and... Brains, kids, clones, I'm naked. No, I'm confused. Where am I? What kind of a back door is this? Suddenly, a chill crawled up. No, I mean down my spine, and the confusion turned into fear, and the fear started to slowly change my perception of George and his ways. The old man was right. The high form wasn't a myth. It was a maize cob with a beard, and a cool, slightly opened mouth resembling that of Sylvester Stallone. I didn't know what to say as my tongue was tied at the back of my throat, but he said,
"Take this power, my son, for you will need it soon. Embrace the Zimbabwe ways, my son. I hate talking. Sue me. Why don't I have arms? And why is my house a cave inside a cave? Did I zap your crown away? Now go, my son. Cool voice, right?"
No. Anyways. Hi, my name is George. I'm the leader of the amazing country of Zimbabwe. Everybody loves me, and I know you do too. Pause. Let's go back. I'll straighten a few things up for you. Or for me. I'm not that old. I'm 25. I don't have a cartoony stature, and I'm the most handsome man in the world. That's all. Now, let's get back to the story. For protection we had to offer. And in return we get protection, and this night I knew something was wrong. We all knew it. Someone had to do it. It wasn't a sweet sight, but he had to do it. Watch out! Oops, I was too slow. He was gone, and we both knew it. They were here. The seed corn maggot. These guys were the real deal, I tell you, folks. These guys had terrorized us for centuries, ever since the beef. They called themselves the pain bringers, and we always dealt the pain. Some called them the clutch splitters, the mob mobbers, the we mop the floor with your face squad, the born to crush your bone squad. They went by so many names. Those lucky enough to survive told me tales that had me whooshy, and I tells you they were left inhumane and traumatized for good. I alone and my wise owl's hair. I went searching for answers, not at the library, but somewhere better. Because the library lies...
Okay, George, thank you. I'll take it from here. You are too slow and your voice is annoying. You are drifting away. Focus from the story!
My apologies.
Get out of my sight, George. Jeez. Thank you. Now the scene was tense, and action was in the air, and it was time for that fight scene we all wanted to see. My nunchucks. We're thirsty and my adrenaline was boiling, and Lord knows I wanted to give it to these mother... They wanted a taste of blood, and we also wanted blood. This was it. I was on the floor and I knew my end was near, and all I could do was hope for a miracle or something amazing.